In his novel The Garden of Eden, Ernest Hemingway wrote, "Happiness in intelligent people is the rarest thing I know." The notion that gifted people are more emotionally fragile, more socially maladjusted, more prone to mental illness, or just generally more miserable than their non-gifted peers, what's also known as the disharmony hypothesis, is a widespread one, reproduced almost constantly in popular culture and in the attitudes of teachers, parents, clinicians, and even in gifted people themselves. But is the disharmony hypothesis true? Is being gifted really a burden? Simply put, no. Large meta-studies have routinely shown that being gifted is advantageous in terms of improving life outcomes, and that high-ability people on average report higher self-esteem and higher self-concept than the rest of the population. In general, being gifted is a lot like being tall, in that the world tends to be more accommodating of tall people. Tall people can reach things on the high shelf without a step stool. Tall people might be good at basketball. Tall people are generally even seen as more trustworthy. American presidents tend to be on the tall side. Tall people make more money. That's not to say that being tall is always great, just like being gifted can sometimes cause problems. A tall person may grow annoyed at always being asked to get things off the high shelf, just as gifted children may find themselves constantly having to act as assistant teachers, being forced to help peers who are slower to grasp concepts. A tall person may not especially like basketball or feel clumsy because of the length of their limbs, just as a gifted child may not actually enjoy learning in their area of strength or may not be gifted in every area. Flying coach is terrible if you're a tall person, and so is being stuck in an educational environment where you already know most of the material being covered if you're a gifted child. If you're extremely tall, say 6'5" or over, it may be very difficult for you to find the right size of clothes or shoes, just as it may be very difficult for a profoundly gifted child to find the right educational environment. That is all to say that, when problems do arise because of a child's giftedness, it often boils down to a mismatch between the child's intellectual abilities and the learning environment and expectations they find themselves in the midst of. Yes, perfectionism, anxiety, and underachievement can present as issues among the gifted, but they can often be alleviated via responsive curriculum and instruction that are broad, deep, and complex, appropriately accelerated pacing, and flexible grouping that allows for interaction with intellectual peers. So, what do gifted children really need? There's an old quote from Einstein that goes like this: "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." This is an attractive sentiment for many because of its anti-elitist bent and reinforcement of the notion that a large portion of a child's education should be devoted to talent development. But there are a couple of things we need to understand. First, Einstein never said this. Second, there are at least 5 species of fish that can climb trees. This is a mud skipper. The mud skipper is a fish like any other in that it needs the same things all fish need: food, water, and other fish to call its friends. In the same way, gifted children are children. They need food, water, shelter, and the love of friends and family, just like everyone else. How gifted children differ from their peers is not unlike how the mud skipper differs from most other fish, however. The mud skipper needs the challenge of a tree to climb, just as gifted children require academic challenge above and beyond the norm. When that is provided, they tend to thrive. Del Siegel frames these needs in terms of rights. Gifted children have the right to know about their giftedness, to learn something new every day, to be passionate about their talent areas without apologies, to have an identity beyond their talent areas, to feel good about their accomplishments, to make mistakes and learn from them, to seek guidance in the development of their talent, to have multiple peer groups and a variety of friends, to choose which of their talent areas they wish to pursue, and to not be gifted at everything. As you continue your teaching and learning journey, think about how you can ensure these rights are honored for the gifted children in your classroom. How can you provide trees for the fish who know how to climb them? It should be our goal as educators to help students as much as possible, gifted or otherwise, to grow as individuals and learners and to find their purpose in life, what's known as Ikigai in Japanese. Ikigai is a state of being in which an individual is able to build a life where their passions and talents have merged into a professional path that is both emotionally and intellectually fulfilling, financially viable, and also contributing to a more peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable future for the world.